Coherent lies are rarely attractive because they are false. They are attractive because they are complete. They close openings that uncertainty leaves exposed. They connect events into a pattern. They assign causes. They explain outcomes. Most importantly, they preserve continuity between what a person believes and who that person understands themselves to be. Truth does not always offer that protection. A contradiction can remain unresolved. A question can remain unanswered. New information can disturb conclusions that once felt stable. The mind may recognize uncertainty without knowing where to place it. A coherent lie offers something different. It replaces ambiguity with structure. It transforms confusion into narrative. The tension does not disappear, but it becomes organized. That preference repeats because the pressure being relieved is not simply intellectual. It is personal. The lie does not only explain the world, it protects a relationship between perception and identity. And once that relationship becomes important, contradiction begins encountering something stronger than evidence. It begins encountering the need for consistency. The belief had already been stated. The conclusion had already been shared. Others had heard it. Some had repeated it. The claim now existed beyond private thought. Nothing had been proven. Nothing had been disproven. Yet the belief occupied space that could no longer be easily abandoned. The conditions surrounding it remained uncertain. Information remained incomplete. Alternative explanations remained available. Questions remained unanswered. But uncertainty creates its own pressure. A possibility can remain open indefinitely. A conclusion cannot. The belief, therefore, acquired a different function. It was no longer simply an interpretation. It became a position. The distinction appears small. The consequences are often larger. An interpretation can change when circumstances change. A position becomes connected to continuity. Revising it requires more than updating information. It requires altering something already integrated into self-understanding. The belief now exists in two places simultaneously. It exists as an explanation, and it exists as an identity marker. From that point forward, contradiction rarely arrives alone. It arrives attached to implications. If the belief is wrong, what else becomes uncertain? If the conclusion changes, what happens to the certainty built upon it? The pressure begins quietly. Contradictory information appears. Doubt becomes possible. Alternative interpretations become visible. Yet the contradiction is often processed differently than expected. The problem is not necessarily that evidence is ignored. Evidence may be examined carefully. It may be discussed. It may even be acknowledged. What changes is the role assigned to it. Instead of forcing revision, contradiction becomes something that must itself be explained. The belief remains central. The contradiction becomes secondary. This shift is subtle enough to feel reasonable. After all, every conclusion encounters exceptions. Every perspective contains limitations. Every explanation leaves details unresolved. The mind does not necessarily reject inconsistency. It often reorganizes it. The contradiction is absorbed into the existing structure rather than permitted to challenge the structure itself. A hesitation appears but remains private. The statement, however, becomes more confident. The words are repeated with greater certainty, not because uncertainty disappeared, but because uncertainty can no longer be comfortably expressed. The tension continues. Belief strengthens under pressure because pressure changes its purpose. At the beginning, belief may exist to understand. Later, belief may exist to preserve continuity. These functions appear similar while conditions remain stable. The difference becomes visible only when contradiction arrives. Understanding allows revision. Continuity resists it. The resistance does not always feel deliberate. A person may genuinely believe they are evaluating information objectively, while simultaneously protecting conclusions already connected to identity. The process rarely feels like deception. It feels like coherence. And coherence possesses an unusual advantage. It reduces friction. A coherent explanation allows events to fit together. It reduces ambiguity. It creates predictability. It permits movement forward. An incomplete truth often cannot do the same. The truth may contain uncertainty that remains unresolved. It may require waiting. It may require admitting that no satisfying explanation currently exists. It may require remaining inside confusion longer than comfort allows. The coherent lie removes that burden. Not permanently, but immediately. That immediacy matters. The mind often experiences uncertainty as unfinished movement. Something remains unresolved. Something remains open. Something remains active. Coherence creates closure, whether deserved or not. A commitment was already made. Alternatives had already been discarded. Returning to earlier uncertainty would require reopening decisions that now structure future choices. The commitment, therefore, remained, not because doubt disappeared, because doubt became increasingly expensive. The deeper the commitment, the greater the cost of reconsideration. This pattern creates an unusual reversal. Evidence is often imagined as something that changes belief. Yet after sufficient commitment, belief begins changing the meaning assigned to evidence. Information no longer enters an empty space. It enters an occupied one. The occupied space contains previous conclusions, previous statements, previous decisions, previous identities. Every new contradiction must pass through them. The result is not always denial. Sometimes it is reinterpretation. Sometimes it is selective emphasis. Sometimes it is endless qualification. The contradiction remains visible. Its significance changes. The lie, therefore, survives, not because reality becomes invisible, but because reality becomes negotiable. The contradiction is seen. The conclusion remains. Recognition itself becomes part of the pattern. A person may notice their own defensiveness. They may recognize the discomfort produced by contradictory information. They may even suspect that certainty is performing a protective function. Yet recognition introduces another tension. If the lie is visible, why does it remain persuasive? Because awareness and revision are not identical. Awareness may reveal the mechanism without removing the need that sustains it. The desire for coherence remains. The need for continuity remains. The fear of uncertainty remains. Recognition illuminates the structure. The structure remains occupied. A belief once defended begins showing visible strain. Certain questions become harder to answer. Certain contradictions become harder to dismiss. Doubt becomes increasingly present. Yet the belief remains in place. Not because it has survived every challenge, because abandoning it would create a confrontation with uncertainty that identity still cannot comfortably absorb. The boundary appears here. The mind can recognize a contradiction. It can recognize its own attachment. It can recognize the protective role certainty has been performing. What it cannot always do is step beyond those recognitions while remaining the same person it understands itself to be. The tension remains active. Belief persists. Doubt persists. Neither fully defeats the other. The coherent lie continues offering completion where uncertainty offers none. The contradiction continues existing where certainty claims it should not. Recognition becomes another element within the pattern rather than an escape from it. The mind moves between these pressures repeatedly. It seeks coherence. It encounters contradiction. It notices the contradiction. It preserves the coherence. The movement continues because the need beneath it continues. The pattern became visible. It did not become easier to escape. Explore more reflections on belief, perception, and recurring human patterns on timeless questions. Can awareness alone ever change the tension described here?